It's about that time of year again when we start thinking, oh, the trees are gone dormant. It's time to pull out those pruning shears. And it's about time to start thinking about pruning our fruit trees. Now, this is something that the Bible actually explains a lot about. Maybe not a lot, but it explains it in quite clearly in how to prune a tree. And as we look at some of these trees here, they just don't look natural, do they? There seems to be something wrong with these trees. They don't look the way that a regular tree looks. This isn't natural. So, are we doing something good for the trees, or are we doing something unnatural? If we look at these pictures, this is kind of the normal way that we prune trees. We kind of take off large sections and take it down, and we take off all these branches, and these trees don't look natural. Now, this could be considered a healthy looking tree, but it doesn't look healthy to me. And here's a tree, very big trunk, but where's the top of it? And here, there's something just wrong. Today, we're getting near the end of the world. And we know from the Bible that at the end of the world is in gross darkness. And while we know that we see light, there's darkness all around us and it really affects us. But if we look to the law, which is like represented by the moon, it gives us light. And that's something that we should understand and see as we're going through to understand how to prune a tree. Today, we're in such gross darkness that, we believe as people, many people believe that we should be doing things naturally and doing things that are not harmful. And today, we've come so far where we actually believe drugs are natural remedies now, as long as it's not a vaccine. I don't get it. That should make your hair stand on end. Now take a look at these pictures. These trees look natural. They are full. They don't look deformed in any way. They look what you'd think would be natural. If you go into the forest, these are the trees that you see. The ones that are healthy and strong have full canopies, have full branches everywhere. So let's get into what the Bible actually says about pruning trees. Did you know that in Leviticus 25, it says, 6 years shalt thou sow thy field, and 6 years shalt thou prune thy vineyard, and gather in the fruit thereof? It was actually a law of God, because it was a command, that they needed to plant fruit trees, and that they needed to prune them. So the question should now be asked, how did they prune the fruit trees? Was it like in these pictures? Or can we find it somewhere else? If we use precept upon precept, precept upon precept, we should be able to look at the laws in the Old Testament and find the same law in the New Testament. So if we go to the New Testament, Jesus tells us how to prune a fruit tree. He says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away, and every branch that he beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. We have to think about this. This is no casual touch or on and off connection that we have with the tree. Every branch that bears fruit is a living representative of the vine, for it bears the same fruit as the vine, but unless it becomes united firmly to the vine stalk, fiber by fiber and vein by vein, unless its channels are supplied with nourishment it receives from the parent stalk, the branch becomes a withered stalk, frail and weak. It produces no fruit. Every branch will show whether or not it has life, for where there is life, there is growth. There is a continual communication of the life-giving properties of the vine, and this is demonstrated by the fruit which the branches bear. Jesus says, Abide in me, and I in you. As a branch cannot bear fruit of itself, except it abide in the vine, no more can ye, except ye abide in me. I am the vine, and ye are the branches. He that abideth in me, and I in him, the same bringeth forth much fruit. For without me you can do nothing. If a man abide not in me, he is cast forth as a branch, and is withered, and men gather them, and cast them into the fire, and they are burned. If ye abide in me, and my words abide in you, ye shall ask what you will, and it shall be done unto you. Herein is my Father glorified, that ye may bear much fruit, so shall ye be my disciples. So Jesus spoke these things because he knew how the Israelites pruned. They knew how to prune their vineyard, right? So he used this as an example because it represented what was going on in the lives of the people as well. And it was perfect, right? So we are to be a living testimony. And whenever we cut off a branch that's bearing fruit, we're bearing false witness against that branch, because that branch is a person, and that person will bear fruit. They are fruit one, and then they'll also bear fruit as well, right? So it's like bearing false witness against them, and that's not right to do. So as we do our work, because we are a living testimony, everything we do should be a sermon. Everything we do, somebody should be able to look at us and just be able to look at the things we're doing and how we're working and know that it's like the gospel being proclaimed. Because if Christ is in us, he is the word. So if the word is in us, it should be lived out in us. And if this is part of the word, this is something we should still be doing. Hence, it was one of the laws in the Old Testament. So why do people cut off the branches the way they do now? Well, it's kind of like Satan, right? He wants to get rid of a lot of people, right? He doesn't want lots of fruit, but he'd like big fruit. That's okay. He wants, it's like having big mega churches, or saying everyone has to be like Billy Graham or Jimmy Swaggart. They have to be big and popular, right? And it's not so much about the little guy that's just going to his neighbor and saying, hey, do you know about Jesus? He's my savior. I love him, right? We're not to covet to be big and popular like these people, right? We're to covet the greater gifts. Like we should be able to covet to prophesy, right? That's something that we should be doing, but not to be famous and popular. These bigger fruit will be of a lesser quality, because when you cut off the branches off these trees, it really hurts the trees and it takes a while to heal. And people think, oh no, it heals no problem. But when you look at the pictures and the photos, you can see that these trees and these orchards are not doing so well. If you're to prune them the way the Bible talks about pruning them, what a difference we'd have. You have healthier fruit, stronger fruit. You might not have it as big, but you'd have more of it all over, right? So, it kind of also goes with that, God gave us so many talents, and not everyone has many talents, and some have fewer talents, but each person has a talent. And it doesn't matter if you're a bigger apple or a smaller apple, as long as you're using the talents that you have. So what is it that we're pruning off then? We still prune, and we prune on branches that have other branches on them. But we're pruning off the branches that don't have fruit, right? That have excess leaves. Or if it's like a vine and it's a tendril and it's reaching down and it's like grabbing onto the earth and won't let go, you have to cut off things like that. Unless you can write it up so that way it's, reaching for the heaven, right? That's what we're supposed to be doing. We're looking up to God, right? We're not supposed to be reaching down to the earth. So things like that need to be cut off. If you have too many leaves, it's shading the light so you can't see the light. And in our lives, God's doing that too. He's cutting out the things that are making it so that we can't see Him. He's taking away the things that are holding us to the earth. And this is why pruning is so important. While the whole earth is shrouded in darkness, we don't need all these things blocking the light of Christ even more. Jesus is the Son of righteousness, and His law goes out throughout the whole earth. Day and night it's represented by the moon. And as we prune off all these things that are blocking the light, we'll see the law clearly and we'll see Jesus clearly. And then the glory of God can shine through the whole earth as it is represented and lived out in us.